following is a true story.
As a filmmaker, you often wonder, I've made my film, now what do I do with it? And I've gone to many seminars and many here in Hollywood, many, gatherings where you go to find out how to get a movie distributed. And it's never clear to me how someone got a movie distributed. It's never, and I know there's no book or anything, but I always wanted someone to say, well, look, this is what you do. A, B, C, distribute. So this is going to be a little story about how our experience of how this movie
ABC distributing.
came across its distribution.
Yes, the sale.
This sale. This is probably the most interesting part of the whole thing. Initially, we had put the movie together. We had finished what we thought was a final product.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the final product. And we said, okay, what are we going to do with it? Well, with this particular product, we knew that we wanted to send it out to distributors. These are people that take movies and somehow move them on in their life.
So you get to see them.
So that you get to see them. And what we did was very fundamentally sound. We went out and got a distributor's book with all the names of distributors and the types of movies they distribute, and we eliminated the distributors that you might not apply to, like horror wouldn't be a horror film, the genre wouldn't be applying to us, and we eliminated all the ones that were not going to be feasible for us to approach. I would say 120 distributors were left. Film, theatrical, DVD, straight to video, broadcast, people who could move the movie along.
Well, can I make one point,
Please,
Tom?
yeah.
We shot this on Beta SP, which creates a disadvantage if you were ever trying to get a theatrical release, which was not something we thought was going to happen with this at any point, and it was sort of we knew that we were trying to go for something broadcast, the television overseas, here, however we were going to do it, I think.
Yeah.
We never had grand visions of it being at the
in a movie
ArcLight.
theater,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Because theaters, to be in a movie theater, it would have to be on film.
It wouldn't have to
Not
be.
have to be, but
The distributors wanted to know, one of the first things they want to know is what's it shot on? Who's in it? Those were the first two questions. So we decided to package our movie in such a way, knowing that it was now that we're doing a couple festivals and knowing the impact it had as being this thing that people couldn't tell if it was really real, and the kind of Blair Witch thing had happened. So we decided to package our video along with a packet of articles that you can see in the movie.
You just saw one.
Yeah. And this package would not indicate whether the movie was or was not a documentary. It did not say that the movie was a documentary, but it did not say that the movie was not a documentary. So we packaged it up, and we probably went through the list of 120. I'd say for the first pass, we probably sent out 80 videos.
Now, this is going to be a long story, so
Yeah.
you should be sitting down.
Go get a glass of water. We'll wait.
Yes.
enjoy.
I was just going to say what was your last comment?
Well, we packaged probably 100 videos, or 80 videos initially, and sent them out to the first 80 people that we thought were feasible distributors.
Right.
And we put together our package, which included these mock articles, and even we went so far as to make a, what is that called? An obituary for Tom.
Obituary, right.
And put it in there.
Right.
Admittedly,
And essentially, I guess our description of the movie was documentary crew follows aspiring filmmaker on his first film, and that we just left that. We weren't lying. This is what it's about. Come on.
And
Right.
so
And
we sent it out.
It was to elicit response, so
Right,
that we could,
right.
once somebody got the packet, that they would call, and then we could talk to them and.
And so out of that 80, I would say 5 distributors.
Sounds like we're trying to.
Justify what we're doing.
Defending
You
ourselves.
better believe
The
this.
justification is coming, I'm telling you.
So I'd say the phone rang 5 times. Now, the phone at Nobody Productions could not be answered by Tom. Well, actually at the time it could, but I would answer the phone as Craig Lockman, because I didn't want people to know that Tom Wilson, the guy who's in the movie who killed himself, is alive and answering the phone at Nobody Productions.
Right. It didn't seem to go well with our
Plan.
pitch. And Craig Lockman was our a co-producer on the movie.
Right. So I played, like, doing some of my best acting. I played Craig Lockman. And
Do a
people-
little bit for us.
Hello, this is Craig Lockman. How are you today? Very nice. I was wondering if you had received the movie They Shoot Movies, Don't They? The Making of Mirage. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's my Craig Lockman. But people would say, inevitably, first thing out of their mouth, is it real? And not really having a game plan beyond sending it to them the way we sent it to them, I'd say no. It's not real. And then right away out of their mouths,
Bum.
you can't do this. You can't go around duping Hollywood. What's the matter with you? Click. They would turn on a dime. And you knew that they were interested in the movie to some degree, but not if they were being duped.
Right.
So,
Boy, they were interested in some guy killing himself, though.
Oh, yes.
I'll tell
Oh,
you
yeah,
that.
that was
If
great.
you got that, they were interested.
So we had about, I'd say out of 80, we probably had 40 names left that we would of distributors, and we regrouped and we came up with a new game plan, keeping the same package and the same movie, of course. We decided that we were going to
Yeah.
take the movie, and when they called, we weren't going to tell them if it was real or not.
Exactly.
We were going to push it to the envelope to really make them understand the hook of the movie. And that this movie, the part of the whole appeal of it is that it is this kind of mirage,
Right.
so to speak.
Exactly.
So we sent out the final 40 to distributors. And the phone rang one day, and I picked it up. Hello, this is Craig Lockman. How are you today? And it was someone from, are we going to use the real name here?
Go ahead.
Okay. It was someone from Harry Klein's office. Now, I don't know if you folks know who Harry Klein is,
He's a publicist.
and he's a wonderful publicist. He
Big time
is-
Hollywood publicist.
Yes.
He is his office. It wasn't Harry himself. It was a gal from his office, and he had called. The office called, and he was the man, as it turns out, behind the Blair Witch project.
He had also done most of Spike Lee's first films, right?
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
Big, studio.
Got the DreamWorks thing going when they started, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So he was moving up. He was moving up. And he'd done Blair Witch. He created that campaign.
So
So they call you, Tom.
they call, and now keeping our new game plan in mind, this gal from the office says, "Can I ask you a question?" And I said, "Yes, of course. This is Craig Lockman. You can ask me any question you want." They said, "Is it real?"
And this is after they viewed it, right?
Right.
Right.
And
She's watched it.
She's watched it, and a couple people in the office, and I said the phrase, "It's as real as it gets." And she said, "Okay." Harry Klein,
Which is not legally binding.
and it's not a lie, and it's not the truth. But we wanted to sit down in front.
But
of
that was
these
enough
people.
for them, right?
This was the Blair Witch guy. We wanted to sit down in front of him. He's gonna get it.
If
This is
anybody's
the-
going to get it,
He's the guy.
going
He's
to
Gonna
get
get
it.
He's
Right.
just gonna slide it right into his business model and run with it.
Right.
So I say, "It's as real as it gets." And they say, "Okay, what we need you to do is get 3 copies over here. Harry Klein likes the story. Can you have someone come to the office? We're thinking about sending some of the copies for the Documentary Film Festival in Cannes, so you want to get over here pretty quick. And
Call for a meeting.
call for meeting." So,
So.
click. I hang up.
I'm at home waiting.
Yeah, that's Frank. He's at home waiting.
Adele's at work.
And I'm opening a new bank account. I mean, I'm hearing ching bling and everything else thing there is. I'm going to ING. But I call Frank and I said, "Okay, here's the deal. We got to have a powwow. Come on over." So he comes over.
Actually, I think what you
come
did is
over.
you called me and you said, "You need to call this woman back at Harry Klein's office." You told me what happened. You said that I told them it's as real as it gets,
Right.
and that was it.
And they need 3 copies
Right.
to send to Cannes documentary competition.
So you told me that you should call her and set up an appointment with
Right.
Harry Klein, right?
Right, and it was important to me, and we kind of had all decided. I think that we had a meeting, didn't we, at the local pub?
After he made the meeting.
Okay, after you made the meeting, but we did decide that you weren't going to. Oh, after you made the meeting,
Yeah, he called. You called and set the meeting, and
Right.
then the three of us had
a powwow.
a powwow.
And at that powwow,
Well, let me just preface
Okay,
one
go ahead,
thing
go
because
ahead.
we have a lot of time in this.
Yeah, go get a
this.
glass
This,
of water.
this story has to go through the entire film, so we're going to stretch a little bit.
it won't be boring. Well, I
Now,
promise you.
if you want to get something more to drink now, go ahead because
We'll wait.
this is. We'll wait. Anyways,
Okay.
our engineer is telling us to move this along. So Tom told me to give these folks a call. So I call and talk to this woman there, and you know she was very complimentary about the movie, and she said that Harry Klein had seen it. Now, I wasn't sure who Harry Klein was at this time. Tom had pretty much taken over what and where it was going to, so I wasn't sure who this person was. But he had also explained to me that this is the Blair Witch guy. So I just assumed that they knew it wasn't real, but that's all I knew. Tom just said, I told him it was as real as it gets. Call up, talk to this woman. She's this, it's great, and I like that, and this and that. And she said, Harry wants to have a meeting. And I said, okay, great. As we're talking, she says, oh, Harry's in my office, and he wants to talk to you. And I was like, all right. Okay. I had no idea what I was going to say to this guy. Pick up the phone, and he says, hello, it's Harry Klein. I just want to tell you, I just want to say thank you, he said. I haven't seen anything like this in a long time, and he starts going on about this film, and he starts describing individual scenes, saying, oh, the light sconces where he's playing golf in his underwear at the end, it was true reality, blah, blah, blah. He went to the next scene, he was breaking it down into little tiny bits and pieces, and I kept thinking, God, if he doesn't think this is real, or if he thinks it's real, I thought it was a little strange that he would talk about the background and the almost like it was a film. And if it had actually happened and the guy had killed himself at the end, he was a little kind of callous about it, I thought. But no matter.
We had the meeting.
We had the meeting. And literally, talked to him, or he talked to me, for about 90 minutes. Until I finally said, look, I gotta go. I'll meet you if you want, but this has got to stop. I mean, it was over the top. But then I kept thinking, Harry Klein is a publicist. We sent this to him in order for us, if we were to do any business with him, we would be paying him. So I thought maybe they're just blowing smoke, you know. Anyways, he said, well, meet me in a week, and I need 3 copies. We're going to send it to Cannes. And I kept thinking, send it to Cannes? As what? But I said, no matter. And
We've got.
I'll send our guy, our boy down there to drop those tapes off. That boy was me. So called Tom back, said, you know, I'm going to take 3 copies down there, and I was off. And they're in a really nice. They were just outside of Beverly Hills, I think, West LA, and really nice little office, little boutique-y kind of place. Walked in. This woman that I had spoke to on the phone was right there. She was very nice. Sit down, you know. And I thought, oh, I'm just delivering this, you know. Oh, she said, oh, you're delivering that. And she didn't know who I was, and I didn't say. I just said, I'm delivering these things. But she said, oh, they shoot movies. That's what we were talking about. Gave it to her. I see Harry Klein, who I would meet later, come out of his office, pick up the tapes, and that was it. And I left. Called Tom back, said I had a meeting, and the next Wednesday, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. And take it from there.
Okay, so I because I had the experience so many times of when we revealed to people that it wasn't real, they would just turn on a dime and go south, and then they didn't want it anymore. I said, let's just go as far as we can with this to really sit down in front of him, and then at some point at the right time, we'll let him know. And you know, and part of my fantasy was we'll never tell anyone, and he'll distribute it as a documentary. And somehow that'll be cool. But we didn't want to push it that far. We decided
We were never going to be
No.
able to get away with that anyways.
No.
and it was just wrong. So what we did was we had a meeting
Tom, Adele, and
at
I.
our local pub, and we did the old thing where you cut your hand and we all shared blood, and we promised each other that we weren't going to reveal until we absolutely had to
Yeah,
that this was real.
right. We were going to just get into that meeting. We weren't
Whatever
going to
it
tell
took.
them until we got there, and then let's just see how this goes.
Right.
And I think at that time we actually did a little mock rehearsal
We
of
did.
what they could possibly ask me to trip me up.
Right.
Right?
We did. We thought we were being extremely minute in our details and saying if he asks you this question, if he asks you that question, and where did you go here and
Right.
why did you do that?
Not quite sure when we were going to tell them, but
Right.
knowing that the longer it took to tell them, the better off we would probably be.
Right.
And after all, this is the Blair Witch guy. When he finds out,
He's gonna
love it.
He's
He's
gonna
gonna
be
love it.
thrilled.
Yeah.
And again, after I had gotten off the phone with him after that 90-minute thing, I was convinced that he was convinced that it was real, and I didn't really at that point, knowing that we had kind of made this deal before. No, we weren't going to say anything. We needed to get in to have this meeting in order to move forward at all, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was a tough decision. Ultimately, we spent a long time talking about the ramifications of the fallout,
Right.
good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
And
This could
where
go
are you
very-
crossing the line? And this could be
Go
terrific or go very, very badly.
Well, that's when we came up with Plan B in case. And Plan B was, if it didn't work out for some reason, we would send him flowers and a
Wine and
a
flowers.
bottle of wine and a
they-
little sorry for being deceitful, but we just figured you're the
Right.
Blair Witch guy. You'll get
Right.
it.
You'll get it.
Never thinking we'd go to Plan B. So.
Right, because that was funny. Ha ha.
Right.
Ha.
So we locked in this agreement, and Frank marched on his way down to Harry Klein's office
Right.
to talk to the marketing genius behind the Blair Witch about our movie.
So that day came, and I remember calling Tom in the morning. It was in the morning, and it was raining that day. And I said, I'm heading down there now. As soon as I'm done, I'll call you. And Adele was at work at that time, and let you know how this went. So I drive down there again, get out, park the car. I walk in. Now they know that this is the director guy coming in for this movie. Well, it was like the doors opened and they were all over me. It was strange. It was like this woman came up and said, everybody here in this office has seen this, and Harry just loves it. And Harry never sees films. He gets reports, and I guess he moves in that sort of direction. But this is something that he had to see, and we were just blown away by it. Really, just blown away. And I was like, good. She goes, do you want any coffee? Do you want a newspaper? Here's the Hollywood Reporter. Just relax. He's in a meeting right now, but he wants to see you. And I go, I do want to get in there and see him. So I sat around. Coffee comes, oranges, grapes, and things. And then he finally comes out, and he's a mild-mannered looking fella anyways. And he's high, very nice, casually dressed. And he said, again, he just said, I want to thank you. And he goes, come into my conference room. We go into this conference room. We sit down, and he starts going into the film again. And he starts going into the minutia of each little scene. And I'm fascinated because he gets it. He got he didn't get it. He got the idea that, it was this type of film where it looked at Hollywood and this guy's dreams, and it was very quintessentially a story about Hollywood winning and dreaming and all that, and the failure that also comes with it. And he goes on and on. He says, we're waiting for another lady that is going to sit in on the meeting. She's just going to go over some legal things with us, but she's in a meeting right now, so we'll talk some more. 15 minutes go by. As we're sitting there, the doors open in this conference room, and every 5-10 minutes, somebody walks in, unannounced, and they just come up to me, and they have their cards.
Business cards?
Business cards. They work there. Mm-hmm. And they just hand me the card and says, "Thank you. I saw that movie. I just thought it was great. You know, Harry's talked a lot about it." And Harry's like, "Yeah, yeah." And
He's a genius.
yeah, and thank you. And that's it. And I'm like, this is too bizarre. This is like they're like they really want our business.
Mm-hmm.
They really want. They must
might
think,
not even
they
charge
think
us.
we're
That's
loaded.
right. It's the jackpot
Right.
for everybody.
Now this happens literally 3 or 4 times as we're waiting for this girl to arrive. Finally, I have a stack of cards in front of me, and this woman arrives and she sits down and she's kind of all business. You know, she's really just interested in the ins and outs, the legalities of what we have and what we're doing. And the first thing she asked me is, "Where's the movie Mirage?"
Which is the movie Tom the main character
supposedly
made.
had done. And this is where things got sticky.
We didn't even count on them asking that particular question, did we?
I think
No,
we had-
I
They
think
may have.
we had a coverall type of thing. I didn't want to lie to them a lot. I wanted to see what I thought this meeting would be. They would sit here and tell me what's going to happen, what they think they can do. Instead, you know, she was not convinced, I don't think. And the funny part about it is he turns to her and says, you know, she's, you know, a little cynical. And he goes, "That's funny because I have sent this to these folks back in New York." This guy at Fox, he calls me up. Of course, he had sent those fake articles with it. And these articles are supposedly out of the Hollywood Reporter. And this gentleman from Fox in New York called Harry Klein and said, after Harry had sent him the tape with those articles, he said he didn't recognize the writer of that particular column. He said, "I know
because
all
I
the
made
writers."
him up. I made that writer.
But he didn't say that.
Right.
Because
Uh-huh.
Tom didn't. I didn't say, well, Tom made those.
No, of course.
And Harry went on and on about how this kind of guy, you know, is typical of Hollywood. Just nothing is good enough. And then he puts down. He had the box of the VHS tape of the movie, and he picked it up. He goes, "You know, this is real," and he's holding it in his hand like it's the Temple of Gold thing.
Yeah.
And then he points behind me, and I turn around on the wall, and there's the Blair Witch poster. And of course, you know, this is 2000, so just less than a year after Blair Witch came out, I guess.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You know, I thought that was something, you know." He goes, "I started out in this business in 19 blah blah blah." He goes, "I wanted to be an actor, and then I was going to be a director, and I got into publicity, and you know, at some point I thought I had reached the pinnacle." He said, "When we got the Forrest Gump account, I thought, okay, that's it. That's as high as we're going." And then DreamWorks came about, and they created their publicity campaign when that studio opened. And he thought, well, that's it. That's the end of this. And he goes, and then the Blair Witch came in, and then all hell broke loose. And I said, you know, it was a brilliant campaign. I mean, we saw the stuff on the internet for it. I mean, it
Right.
was some beautiful work. And he had come up with this, which this was the fascinating part about it. He wasn't happy enough that he had a movie that was making millions and millions and millions of bucks. But he wasn't satisfied because it wasn't quite real. But this, he said, your movie, that's real. And he went on and on a little more, and I guess at that point the girl chimed in again and asked me when had I met Tom, and or how's Adele? That was her question. And I said, "Adele, oh boy, well, she's doing good. She's okay. You can understand. I can't really talk about it." And she goes, "Mirage, where's that?" And I said, "Well, that's." Listen, remembering, I'm not going to lie as little as I have to. And I said, "That's a matter that his family is dealing with, and you know, they have the rights to it, and I'm really not. I should call them." And that was it. I was like, I should call them. And he goes, "Well, we gotta get that thing in there, and remind me, you guys, if I'm missing any, because we do have to fill the entire 77
No,
minutes."
you're doing fine. Keep this is the story. Well, what
Has Harry already talked about his own loss and his mom and, you know?
No, that's
I
in the
think
second.
that's-
But how about the part where he's talking about getting in the vault, the last scene?
Right.
Oh, yes.
He says, "You know, kid, I I got to ask you. I got a couple questions myself. He goes, "Where's that last scene? Where's the where he shoots himself? Where's that?" And I was just about to say, that's in Tom's closet, but I didn't. I said, that's we have it. He goes, you know what? You need to get that into a safety deposit box right away.
Because if
the Fox TV network gets it, he goes, they'll show it. Believe me. We talk a little bit more, and we get, I guess, again, we're an hour and a half in there, and I'm thinking, Jesus, I'm on an hour meter out there. So I thought, maybe I can speed this up. And I really want to now, I'm trying to just deflect a few questions, because I don't really, I'm now trying to find my spot. I'm trying to find in this meeting where they're really at and when I'm going to tell them this is not.
When you reveal.
Yeah. So what happened was, I ended up talking to him at the end. I think it came at a point where he started talking about his mother, and
Right.
I think
It
he
started
said
getting personal.
personal, yes. And then I started feeling very strange. I could feel it. I could feel my face. And the girl's just looking at me.
She kind of did. You got told me one time you felt like she might have suspected.
Right. Now, keep in mind now that the door is open to this conference room, so the small outside office can hear what's going on in here. And at some point, I kind of decided I'm going to have to say something. After his mother's comment, I was kind of ready to jump off there, but I wasn't quite. So we talked just a few minutes more, and he finally said, "Okay, here's what I'd like to do." He goes, I don't want to be a publicist in this. I want to be part of this." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Which part?" And he said, "Well, I'd take maybe a consultant of some sort, maybe a producer type thing." He says, "But I'd like to. I'm talking about more away from the publicity thing, but helping you get this out there." He goes, "Do you need money?" I said, "Yeah, you could use some money. Yeah, that would be good." And Tom and Adele could use some money and their families. And he says, "Well, we can get it." And I'm like, "Oh boy, this is something else." But now I'm going to have to say something. And I think the last thing he said to me was, this is it. I said, "Okay, if you become a producer, what would we do first?" And he says, "Well, first of all, I'd change a couple things." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I'd change a couple things in the film." He goes, "There's a couple of things you could have done maybe differently to add a little more." And this is bizarre. Anyways, I sat there and listened to him, and then I got to say something now. Well, just before I'm about to blurt this out, the girl sitting there goes, "Do you have the rights to the music and all this stuff?" I said, "Yes, legally we have everything in hand." And I think that final question she did ask me.
Was it real simple?
It was very simple. Something Tom and Adele and I had never gone over. She did ask me. She asked me, "When did you meet Tom?" And I was now trying to think, what is the chronology of the movie? Those dates, those stupid dates we kept putting in. Why did we put those dates in there? So it was at 96, 90. If it started in 96, then I must have met him before that. So I go, I must have met Tom in 1991. 90. And she looks at me kind of curious. She goes, "That's funny." She goes, "In the movie, I think you say that you don't meet him till like later, like 97. And I'm thinking, that's not in the movie.
She's tipping you up.
And I could feel my face start to turn red.
Oh, God.
And I'm just sitting there and I'm stewing. I'm like, I don't know what to say. And it's just getting warmer. And I'm like, "Can we open a window?" And she's like, "No." I go, "Fine, leave the window closed. I met him. Doesn't matter when I met him." And I go, "Never mind. Wait a second." I said, "Stop. I've got to say something here." And they're both looking at me like, what possibly could he say? I said, "That's not real." Silence. he goes, Harry Klein says, what do you mean it's not real? I said, it's not real. This is a movie. Now, I tell you, I didn't do this to embarrass you or to try to put something over you. I said, I just had to get in to your office
see you.
to talk to you. Silence. She looks at him. Now, she never, for the rest of the meeting, she never looks at me again. She just looks to him. And his reaction was a reaction I've never seen before, but have only read about. Talk about somebody deflated, or what was the?
You said he's, the little, when Fred Flintstone,
when he shrinks,
would shrink to the real.
and you could hear that noise. Boo. And he's staring at me, and then you could see his mind start going over everything he had done that week that had something to do with this movie. Sending it to Cannes. Oh, my God. Sending it to Fox in New York. Having this guy from Fox call him and tell him these things are
The Hollywood Reporter
fake.
guy is fake.
And you could see him rehashing all this. And he's starting to get angry. At this point, the girl shuts her book, stands up, doesn't even say anything to him, and walks out. And as she goes out, I hear the doors start closing outside, the other people's offices. Because everybody in this office had apparently seen this movie. And she had just gone out there and told them. Now, Harry has a staff, obviously, and he obviously is knowing that she's going out there and that he is now looking like he's embarrassed, which is completely understandable. I don't think we even considered that kind of reaction. We never thought it would ever move anybody to this type of thing. And he just stares at me, and finally he just looks up and he says, "You know what? I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole." Ouch. And I wanted to say, Harry, 10 minutes ago, this was the Ark of the Covenant. This was everything your whole life had come to this thing, and you loved it, you nurtured it. But now, it's nothing to you. And he goes, yes, it's not. And I tell you, I've never seen a look in a man's face. He was completely shattered. And now I felt pretty good. It was the most power I've ever had in Hollywood. I felt at that point, it was some side background thing going on. It was like this wasn't really happening, and this is somewhat of a movie, and I'm acting in this now. And so I'm like Bogart now. So it's like, well, it's not real, but we weren't trying to fool you and all this stuff. I'm sorry, Harry, but it had to be done this way. We've looked at this thing, we've shown it to people, and the only reaction we've gotten is a real reaction because they saw it as a documentary, and I needed you to see it that way. He wasn't going to have any of it. He literally sat there for about 5-10 minutes and didn't say anything. And I kept going on trying to say, this wasn't our intention. We just needed to get into this office.
And he's the Blair Witch guy. I mean,
And
he
he-
really felt like
If anybody.
he'll get it. I mean,
Right.
it won't be.
And I knew at this point this was not good at all. Well, I had seen the cards that that were sitting in front of me of all his staff that had come in here, and I at one point felt, well, I better get up and leave because he's not going to ask me to leave quite yet. And I just kind of slid the cards over, and I said, I probably won't be needing these. Hey, he didn't say anything. And I said, and I'm getting my bag, and I swear to God, if I could have shot and killed him right at that point, and it was like The Godfather. I felt this complete power over this guy. But felt bad for him, too.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he had invested a lot emotionally into it,
Of
apparently.
course.
So,
And he literally,
And he liked it.
and he broke
he
it down.
loved it.
And he understood my intention with the film. He got all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was the first time I had actually heard from someone else, other than just people randomly watching it. Somebody like Kim that got it. And that was the sad part about it. I wanted to tell him, you got it, and that's more than a lot of people. And anyways, I packed my little briefcase and I stood up and I just kind of reached over the table. Now he's just laying against the back of the wall, his chair, and I go to shake his hand and he goes, no. He waves me off. He goes, no. And I go, Terry, I mean, come on, I don't, this wasn't meant to end this way. I go, this is the first chance I've ever had in Hollywood. And he goes, it'll be your last.
It did not.
That's the look he gave me. Well, I go outside into the lobby. All 8 people that work there are standing there now, and they all know. And I looked up at them and I said, well, thanks, it was nice seeing you. And they said, well, don't let the door hit you, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That look of, you bastard. You look what you've done to our leader. But there was a glee in it for them too. I could see a little glee that their boss had been the Blair Witch guy and now he's duped. What a great story. I walked underneath the door to get out because I went, doo.
You did too.
Yeah.
You kind of slid through.
I walked down to my car. I'm in a daze, you know. I pulled the ticket off the car. It's raining. And I go, I got to call Tom. And I got right on the phone and I called Tom. He picked up right away. And
And all you said was, get plan B ready.
yeah.
And I thought, oh, you're kidding.
I said, get some beer, some whiskey. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. I'll be there in 20 minutes.
Yeah, call Adele.
Call
So
Adele.
So I called Adele, and the 3 of us got together. And I'm thinking, good Lord, what happened? You know, I mean, and I had to go close my the bank account I had just opened. And,
Right.
you know, all my dreams were just like, wait a minute, this is the Blair Witch guy, and I'm walking around bumping into walls.
Tom had already bought a car.
Yeah. So I go.
So I call up Adele.
Yeah. And
I-
he says, Plan B. And I went, oh, shit, Plan B. It went badly.
And so
So I go and I tell everybody I've got to go. And I run to buy a nice bottle of wine and order some flowers and have them all delivered over to Harry Klein's office. It's going to be a beautiful package. And have this card. I can't even remember what the card said, but it was basically mea culpa and,
Yeah.
well, we apologize for
Yeah.
that. Then I go to meet Tom and Frank.
And I think Kurt came over even.
We called
for this
Kurt.
meeting, and it was kind of a oh my God, this just slipped out of our hands. We were so close,
And it was gone all of a
and
sudden.
it was just gone. And so and
And it was worse.
It was
worse
than
than
that.
we anticipated.
Because
Yeah.
there was going to be some possible ramifications.
Yeah, I mean, Harry Klein, I'm thinking this guy's probably a powerful. He could off us like that if he wanted.
If he wanted to, his
If he wanted
minions.
to, he could.
One of his people, he wouldn't
Right.
do it.
So
But-
we're all sitting in the nobody
Zone.
Yeah.
zone, in the nobody offices. And
And I'm thinking, oh my God, okay, wait a minute, I'm not gonna let it go this fast. I'm a pretty persistent guy, and I'm just thinking, okay,
Well, I don't think you believe the story what I told you.
I
I go,
was-
no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
He is going to kill us, and there's nothing we can do about it now. We just have to eat this. We are in big trouble.
Yeah.
And you kind of just sat there. Remember, you just looking at me like, no, it's not. There's no way it's as bad as you're making this out to be.
there was no way it could be.
Yeah, because you have a flair for telling stories, and I must say, during the telling of this story, you've kept it. It was pretty
Pretty
there.
accurate.
You didn't throw any. I mean, I don't think you walked under the door, but that was just about the only
Okay,
part
so
that wasn't
most-
absolutely true.
Right.
It's true.
So I said, well, hell with it. I'm going to get on the phone and I'm going to call Harry Klein. Oh, you
No,
did?
no, actually.
That's right. I was the Cali. Oh,
Right.
Did he call?
called.
Oh,
we were
yeah,
all
that's
sitting there,
right.
and the phone rang. And I answered
Oh,
the
because-
phone,
oh,
Nobody
that's right.
Productions.
Yeah.
And he goes, is this Nobody Productions? And I said, yeah, and I know who it is. I've never talked to Harry before, but it's an angry voice on the other end. And I know. And I said, yes. And he goes, well, this is Harry Klein, and I want you to have somebody come over here and pick up these flowers right now. I'm angry. I am angry. And I said, well, Harry, it was just a token. I am angry. I want you to get. He wouldn't even let me finish speaking on the phone.
And that's when I walked
So
in.
Tom walks in. He goes, give me the phone. And
Yeah.
Tom takes the phone out of my hand.
And I said, Harry, this is Tom Wilson. I'm the guy that killed himself in the movie that you were so upset about a half an hour ago. And then, you find out it's not real. I said, Harry, I'm alive. Doesn't that matter to you? And he goes, I don't care if you're alive or not. I'm trying to run a goddamn business here. You bring me $2,500 and come over here and pick up this flour and wine. I've put so many people to work. I've sent these things out, and my reputation is out there. And I said, hold on, just let me come by. Let me come by. Just calm down. Let me just come by, and we'll sit down. We'll talk about it. No, I'm not going to let you come by. Not unless you bring me some money. Oh, that's right. He hung up on me.
Yeah.
And then Tom walks into the room. He's been in the other room, the office there, and he comes walking out. And he's got this, like somebody just shot him. And he starts telling us what he said, and we can't believe it.
Yeah.
And we go, how could this get worse?
He's
He goes,
screaming at everybody.
he wants $2,500. For what?
At that point,
For what?
For his time and
For
his,
the work he's
people
already
he put to
done.
work, and
Yeah,
and how much of that I don't feel responsible for that.
Should have got a
honestly.
timesheet.
Yeah, really.
You should have asked him.
I should have got something for tax purposes. But so did he call back? No, and I called him. Did I call him back?
Yeah, and you said we're coming.
I called him back
give
and I
you
said,
that.
"Look, I said, okay, Harry, how about this? How about if and I told you guys I was going to give him $2,500, which I really was all the money I had in the world. And you guys thought I was crazy, and I said,
Well,
but I'm
your
not
money.
letting this go. I'm not letting this go. But this is too close. So I called him and I said, I'm going to come down to $2,500. Will you sit down with me for 10 minutes then? He goes, okay. So
we all took
So
it.
we jump
Tom
in the
comes
car,
back in the room and he
it's-
says,
let's go. Get your shit together. And then you put the cap back on the whiskey bottle.
yeah.
And I think
Kurt said, "I'm not going."
Kurt didn't go. He stayed and finished the whiskey bottle.
Kurt's worked in Hollywood since.
Yeah.
One thing you didn't forget was when Harry goes, "No, Tom.
Oh, yeah, in the
No.
meeting.
Oh, yeah.
No, Adele."
Oh, I can't go back now.
Yeah, too good to go back. But so I say, let's get in the car. We're all going in the car, and Frank's sitting in the back seat. He's curled up in the fetal position. Adele's it's raining, of course. And I'm zipping through Hollywood, and some of the things running through my mind were like, here I am in Hollywood. I've come here all the way from Aurora, Illinois, and I'm, and it's down to this. I'm trying to save not just my movie, but some sort of reputation maybe or whatever. And I'm zipping through Hollywood, and we pull up to Harry Klein's office, and there's a guy in a black limousine with a machine gun out front. At least that's what my imagination was telling me.
Because I don't remember that.
I didn't remember that.
No, there was a guy in a black suit and a black car out there. But in any event,
I don't even remember him.
really. But we will go inside, and we're standing there, and it
Now-
is hushed.
Oh,
Right.
all three of us are
Now,
standing there.
now, as we walk in, these people that work there know that we're coming back. And, of course, they've seen the movie, and now they're in their offices, and now they want to get a glimpse of the dead guy. So you just see these people just kind of peering
Yeah.
around corners as we come in.
I
And,
felt like a ghost. I really did. I was like,
And,
what are you looking at?
Harry comes out, and he's completely different now.
I
knows-
thought, what's Frank talking about? This is the sweetest man
in the
alive.
world. He's like, hi, how are you again?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, Adele. He goes, you were marvelous.
Yeah.
Marvelous. Anyways, what's up? Like
How you guys
nothing,
doing? Come
like
sit down.
nothing had happened.
So we went and sat down. I thought, well, maybe this is going to work out.
Yeah.
Maybe this
Yeah.
is going to be fun.
The tide had turned.
So we sat down in this nice what is it called? A
conference room.
And there's the Blair Witch poster, and Harry Klein sits down right in front of it like the king. And I proceed to say, Harry, look, I'm really sorry. I'll take mea culpa. We did push the envelope, but doggone it, we want to get this movie seen. You're the Blair Witch guy. We figured he'll get it. He'll just plug it right into his formula, and it'll be exactly, the right marriage of distributor and filmmaker. And he said, well, you lied to me. And I said, I didn't lie. Craig Lockman might have lied to somebody.
That wasn't me.
No, but I said, I didn't lie to anybody. And he goes, yes, you did. You said the movie was real. And I said, I didn't. And the girl was in there, and she goes, yes, you did. And I said, no, I didn't. I told you it's as real as it gets. And he said, semantics. Semantics. And I said, well, yeah, it's semantics. I said, Harry, look, you're the Blair Witch guy. I mean, I'm trying to get
on.
in here. You played with semantics too when you were distributing that and stuff. I said,
ethics.
fair enough, all that. And finally, he says, well, I didn't lie when I distributed the Blair Witch. I didn't lie. And I said,
We never lied.
We never lied. And I said, well, no, but semantics? He goes, no. He goes, you see that poster up behind me right here? And I said, yeah. And I looked up at the poster. And he says, what are the top 4 words? And I looked at the poster, and it said, once upon a time. And I said, once upon a time out loud. He goes, there, right there. Tells you it's a story. And I thought to myself, my God, Semantics?
Semantics.
You're going to give me a hard time about semantics? Well, we ended up having a pretty civil conversation after that, and I must admit,
He started going on about the movie again.
Yeah.
This happened.
And I
I
thought
love
maybe-
it. Oh, Adele, you look so.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so. At the end there, it was so sad, and I mean, it was strange.
He loved the movie when he thought
loved
it was
it.
real. That simple. And I think a lot of people don't like, and maybe anyone listening to this didn't like being duped, and for that, I
That
guess,
wasn't the point. I don't think.
Right.
not for him.
But he
I-
liked it so much, even after the
We handed over
We-
$2,500.
Well, at the end of the meeting,
He asked for
I
it.
did say, look, I told you if you gave me some time, I was going to give you $2,500, and here it is. And don't you know, he took it.
Yeah.
Not only that, though, remember he called a week or 2 days or a few days later. He called back because he still loved the movie.
Oh.
And he wanted to do something with the movie.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
that's true. But by then, that's true.
I
He
mean,
wasn't-
at the end of that meeting, what ended up happening is that Harry started talking about the movie again and again.
Mm-hmm.
After a half an hour, we were like, we got to go. And I think
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
said,
we
I
wanted
think
to
you said,
go.
look, we've got to
I
go.
looked across-
If you want to do something with us, we'd love to do something with you.
Right.
He said yes, but it wouldn't be in that publicity capacity. He
Right.
would
Yeah. And I said, well, what capacity would it be in?
$400
And then he
an
went-
hour capacity. he said.
Yeah, and then he wanted to re-edit and get his name on it somehow.
Oh, boy.
And we, by then you knew that the damage was done, and it really wasn't going to be anything that we were going to pursue. But he did call back. That's true. I completely forgot about that.
I think we
Said,
played.
did.
We talked to him a couple times over the next couple weeks, and we ended up saying no. We're not going
Actually,
to.
we did. We ended up saying no,
have
thank you, but
come in and do any consulting for
Or
us,
re-editing.
unless you can help us move it beyond where it is now.
and he was going to make no promises for that.
And besides, we had paid him for the work he did at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
essentially.
And I think he actually did an interview for the LA Times where he complimented
Right.
us. Mm-hmm. And I
Right.
don't know how he feels now, but in any instance,
He was a good man. I mean, I don't like what happened, but the way it happened, we got this story out of it, and I hope that story is going to help you out there to never, ever do anything like this.
Don't try this yourself
Again.
at
Don't
home.
try this at home.
It doesn't work. You hear these stories about these people sending themselves in boxes to these movie people, and they think they're just going to pop out of that box and they're going to make them a star. It doesn't happen. I had tried that 5 years earlier,
Urban
and believe
myth,
me,
urban myth.
the UPS is not what it
No.
Yeah,
claims
he
it
got
is.
a
rough ride.
concussion, and he
Jesus.
was never the same.
So, anyways, in the end all be all of this thing, Harry Klein was helped us in a certain way because we kind of knew what we had at that point. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, okay,
I think we had some. We knew
it
this had certain amount of a little power here behind it, or it had
it galvanized
something
our belief in,
Right.
that
in the
we
movie,
had, yeah.
right? And that actually helped us move on to the next step, which was the Independent Film Channel. Which,
Of those 40 that we sent out, where Harry Klein had called back, also shortly thereafter the Harry Klein incident, I like to call it,
The incident.
the someone from at the time, what was the name of that company? Blue.
Rainbow Media.
No, not Rain. No, it was some small distributor. But they said, look, IFC is starting a new strand, and a strand is a kind of how they group movies together so that people will watch it, kind of like a genre, try to create a genre. And they might be interested in your movie. It's called DV Theater, Digital Video Theater. So I got one over to IFC, and a gal named Kelly Devine looked at it and liked it. And she, I didn't push her too far. We kind of learned our lesson on the Harry Klein thing. I told her it wasn't real, but she didn't turn on a dime. She said, okay, I think I get it. We'll put it out. We'll not say it's a documentary. We'll not say it's not. It's a movie. And so we signed a 3-year deal with Bravo, which was their parent company.
right, licensing.
Licensing, and it was going to show up to 22 times on DV Theater. Well, the interesting thing was, DV Theater went away. We were going to be part of this cycle of 4 digital video movies, and our movie, because I'm pretty sure because of the reaction it got, like Kelly Devine said in the LA Times, it did cause quite a shudder. They continued to put it in their cycle and showed it the maximum times they could show it on IFC, which was great for us because
Right.
it made us the stars we are today.
Right. Because
Exactly.
yes, well, because what happened after that first showing, with DV Theater, they had it set up so that viewers of the Independent Film Channel could respond immediately.
Right.
And when They Shoot Movies, Don't They showed, the response not only came in immediately, but it came in fast and furious.
Yeah.
And it ultimately, we ended up getting so much response from DV Theater. It was nice. Independent Film Channel stayed with it,
Yeah,
even though
right.
DV Theater went away.
Yeah. Yeah, they were the independent film channel. And that's how the distribution, you always wonder, there's a lot of movies out there without distribution. And believe me, I got a whole philosophy on that I'm not going to go into now. This is Tom talking. But that's how the kind of the evolution of how our movie
Broke some light, got out there a little bit.
Right.
And like I said, it was a. I don't know if I want to do it again, but it
Do
was
what?
Go through this or go read. I don't want to tell the story again. That's one thing.
Oh, good. I hope you got it on tape.
We're finally done.
Yeah. I think in the end we learned a little bit about it. We learned about, and we were lucky. I mean, we were lucky. I think at some point when this was in your closet, we thought, wow, we did all this and it'll never see the light of day. And the funniest thing about it is I remember the first draft of the script, that was at the beginning, that we had a blurb, we had a voiceover that said, of so many movies made in Hollywood, only so many make it this far and even less. And then there's hundreds like our film that nobody will ever see. And the heart and the creativity and the want to make something and all the work that's put into it doesn't mean anything and it shouldn't to anybody that's watching it, right?
Right. No, they want to see the product.
But all these little films, that our story isn't that unique. The Harry Klein one might be, but I haven't heard it out there anywhere else yet. But this happens to every year to
hundreds
of people,
of filmmakers.
and in the end, you kind of, for me, and I'm not going to say that this is the greatest movie ever made. I've grown to appreciate it a lot more over the years, and what it is, and how it does kind of stand up. Never comparing it to some Hollywood film, but when I do look at what's out there today, Hollywood-wise, I'm shocked at the lack of quality, and I think this has something a little to say, and I hope it entertains you. I hope it faked you out, but I hope when you learned that it wasn't what it was, that you got what it was about, and that's enough.
That's the intent.
Ah, yes, Tim Hart.
Tim Hart. You've played brother several times in movies, haven't you?
Tim and I are like Redford and who's a Redford and
That other guy, the older guy.
The
other guy.
the other guy.
The other guy I idolized, Paul
Yeah.
Newman. But we've done. He did the Mormon film with me, and then we did a short for Kurt, as a matter of fact, and another one.
Right.
So we've stood toe to toe, and we love acting together. I love
Well,
acting.
if you want to see acting, now watch this baby.
Brando there.
That's a little his concentration alone. This other kid, I didn't know what to do with him.
Yeah.
But this, look at that.
He was distracted.
That
but
kid's
yeah.
like Brando. Look at that.
Look at him.
The horror.
Because what's wrong with this guy?
And he's getting his lines wrong.
This was an interesting thing.
worked,
Now,
though.
now this is
Didn't make
not.
it work.
Again, this was a setup scene.
Loosely structured.
Right. I think we had set up a premise for this, and Tim kind of knew where we were going. Again, the neat thing about working with actors that can move on their feet is that you can just literally give them a situation, and the real reality comes from them listening. And Tim, I don't think was sure where I was.
Tim's not sure about anything, so that always works for
It
him.
makes
Yeah,
it
he-
interesting.
Yeah, it does.
does.
Very
It does.
interesting.
He loves doubt. I mean, he just really, and I maybe he doesn't love it, but the experience of doubt works for him somehow.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. You kept it moving forward. Yes.
This,
But sometimes it takes a while. You need to take a break to keep going forward.
This is a scene I think that slid back in the movie a little bit. I think earlier an example of, look, we intended it initially to go A, B, C, D, E, but
Right.
E works better between A and B now, so
Right.
let's just move it.
Right. I mean, there was certain pacing that we had to.
This is some deep psychological. I mean, what?
Again, you can see how our cameraman Kurt is getting tired. I had him on his knees for about an hour and a half filming this, and I don't think Kurt knew where we were going to go, and
Life will go on.
we just said, let's just let this play.
Things will happen anyway. It's not worth tearing.
And there was some great stuff in here, and I might have
The-
edited a little differently, but
Yeah, but
Well,
there was so
you'd
much.
still be editing it if.
I'd still
if
be
you-
editing.
right?
If
Because
I- if
there's
you
so
let me.
much footage, and
Right.
and each scene was complete on its own, and so it's having
Right.
the tendency to want to keep the
Keep
whole
everything,
thing,
right.
and
That's the key, I think. One of the things
Experience.
I guess I knew, but I really didn't want to adhere to is just in the scenes. A scene doesn't have to have a beginning, middle, and end. It has to make a point for the
Right.
beginning and middle and end of your movie.
Right.
yeah.
But you always want each scene to be full, and
Mm-hmm.
we ended up, the first version was 3 hours long. It took us 11 days to shoot it, and the first cut was 12 days. I don't know how that happened.
Really. Because we had a mime.
That's right. We
yeah.
started with the mime.
We had the mime.
I like that part.
I like
Most
it too.
first films start with a mime, and I thought, well, why change it? So, but we ended up cutting that out after the.
Yeah, he was too loud and obnoxious
Yes,
all
he
the time
was.
when the camera wasn't rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those hand motions.
Yeah, just screaming at people.
Yeah.
And this is like I said. This is Tom's Jerry Seinfeld outfit. Jerry wears that all the time. You see.
He does. Those pants are tight.
Like what?
Like a Gordon Smith leisure suit. I'd like to give a big shout out to all my friends in Austin while we're having
Yes.
a little lull
Do you
here.
have anybody you want to say hello to?
Oh, no.
They're going to have to purchase the DVD in order to hear it.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah, which is up to
Of
sales.
course,
Yeah. So
my
say it.
sisters and my mom.
Yeah, sure, yeah. There goes half the audience. They're turning it off now.
That's right. Well, we got to practice for those days when we're going to be accepting awards, and
Sure.
you got to make sure
course.
you remember everyone, and
Right.
just because if you forget,
We could
one-
personalize each one of these DVDs.
Yes, there we go,
Are
dear.
you going to make your comment about the drawer here?
Oh.
Go
I
ahead.
can't just shut that drawer.
Okay, good. That's out of the way. Now, this particular scene, Gene Hackman is one of my favorite actors, and
And we couldn't get him, so.
we couldn't get him, so I had to do this. But
scene.
this scene, I really was like, okay, just channel Gene Hackman. Do your best to be as real as he is, and give it a little power. And so this is my homage to Gene
The
Hackman.
homage to
Mm-hmm.
Gene Hackman.
Of course, I came up short, but how can you?
Gene Hackman would have shut that drawer.
Yeah, he would have slammed it actually.
He would have
Right.
slammed it.
But he would have did it with a smile.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, subtle levels, please.
In the pictures, they might have all, face down at some
Yeah.
point. Just,
Those pictures.
All right, please.
This is Ari rocks this scene.
1 week. I can't. You see, you can't. You can't.
Yeah, just the way he,
Somewhere else. Like, Ari, there is nowhere else. There's nowhere else to go. And you know that.
just like the way he wasn't so,
He's exasperated and he doesn't want to be.
he's not really in
hurtful.
control, and I like how that played. Little high pitched, little. He's like I'm trying to tell you something.
He's admonishing.
Exactly, and I don't think that was ever an intention in this scene when it was written. I mean, we literally let him go with that, right?
Yeah. What's an example of, like I said in the beginning, the resource I knew that I wanted to access was all the great talent that Hollywood doesn't use. I mean, I don't want to bag on Hollywood, but there was a lot of talent that I could go to theaters. I was producing plays. We were producing plays. And I knew there's this great resource here that this isn't being used. And so, you know, to plug some, it's like free talent. Let's go get it.
Right.
And the great
Not
thing-
free. I mean,
Not right.
that's another issue.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Otherwise, you're going
And
to get out of
I
there.
was going to leave at that point. I was so convinced that I thought he worked there.
Just stop and get out.
This is Tom asking him.
Look how
Just-
bad he feels too.
This was a really this editing. I like the editing choices.
Me
in this.
too.
You know, editing wise, I got to say, I like this edit. I think of all, and then the entire film, that the editing here worked.
This is brutal when he says he doesn't like it. And it's not like I didn't like it, bringing it down. It was just, I didn't like that choice.
Please. Fuck, it's really, you're making me feel so
There goes our PG rating, all right.
Yeah.
He said the F word.
Yeah.
Oh
I don't
my
need-
That's when
god.
everything changed.
I've done it. My business sense tells me that you can't be able to make a dime on it, so I think it's much better for you to just
Move on.
move on.
Yeah.
See?
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah, well, I move on.
He
I move
doesn't.
on.
He said move on and you moved on.
Yeah.
Boy, he should have been directing this thing.
He gets results.
We would have done this in 3 days.
Yeah.
I just don't. I feel guilty. I feel like shit.
You know, and
Oh,
he
no, he
ran
said
with
the
this.
F
This
word.
is.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
he did. He did.
We were leaving, and I literally had to go. Okay, go back.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be motivated by money.
There's something about that. Yeah, shut up.
It sounds.
I don't know. I know. It's a little too noble for me. But
Remember
Yeah, but it
when we
works
did
for
this
him,
though?
There's other reasons to be, you know,
Money wasn't that important to people
Yeah.
no, of
back
course
then.
that's a
Yeah.
No, the people were noble.
Right.
Not if you want to make a big buck.
But Tony knew.
Yeah, Tony knew she got it.
She
And
knew. And
she does
she's
make a big
she's
buck.
making the dosh now.
Yeah, she is, isn't she?
That buku.
Boop.
Alad?
On the other hand,
Well,
He chucked it all. He didn't want to be a smarmy producer
no.
anymore.
He went on the road.
he's an actor.
He's still on the road, doing theater.
Yeah.
He couldn't wait to get on the road again.
Yeah.
There is no other way. If you don't do it the way they want you to do it, you get out. It's pretty
We
clear.
were still talk about that.
Yeah.
There's no deeper level.
Yeah, it's still an issue. I mean, a lot of, I don't know that some of these issues we talk about in this movie are ever going to change. It's just a byproduct of how, show business.
Right.
Like Jeff Arbaugh says, this business we call show. You know, it's a business.
It's a business.
And that's okay. That's how it is.
Well, I mean, I think that we knew that when we wrote this. I mean, that is the reality, and that there's. It sounds so awful, but that's the awful truth, and Tom's the opposite of that. He's the idealistic. He could go, he can do, and
Tom
you think
Paulson.
Tom Paulson, yeah. Look at him now.
Except here, he's
This is the part
he
where
doesn't even have any pants.
that's broke.
he's lost his
Furniture's
fan.
gone. Adele moved
His
out, took the
shirt.
furniture.
Yeah.
You guys said she was nice. But
Well-
I really just something inside of me really wants him to just get up and jump out the window right here.
Right.
The
don't know.
alternative ending.
Yeah.
Ended quicker than you thought.
Yeah. Watch the boom.
There's the boom again.
Well, the process of it's funny because the process of making movies is exciting and fun, but does that mean the process of making this movie was exciting and fun? And
Well-
yeah, it was.
It was.
Whether
It
you
was.
have,
I mean,
you
like
know,
I said, the
guerrilla movie making is fun, and
It was
those are
fun
the
for
good
you
old
guys.
days when you look back on them, right?
the production. I mean, like I said, it was fun doing it. I mean, it was too easy. The shoot. It was funny
Yeah.
that
And
that part of it
once
would be.
again, I want
thought,
to
since we didn't know.
I want to
where
bring
we were
in
going.
Craig Lockman's. I want to give a shout out to Craig because he did make that shoot work.
Smooth. It ran very smoothly.
Like
yeah.
clockwork. And then everything went to hell.
Right.
Right.
But,
But the actual production, the physical production,
it was rough, but
making
it was
And if you listen to the other track, you'll find out the true story.
the top secret track.
The top
secret.
I don't want to talk about it.
Maybe we shouldn't have a top secret track.
Now look at. This was one of the. Well, that car looks a lot better then, didn't it?
yeah. It's
This
a
is
nice
Got a
car.
rust bucket now. It's Kurt's car. That was one of the things people would always say, when we first started out, you work out all these problems that may come up because you want to keep it feasible. And we kept going, well, why didn't he sell his car? Why doesn't he sell his car? And you sweat these details
Right.
that are important, and you don't want to make sure you don't have some really bad things pointed out. But
I think we had in the script that it was a leased
Right.
automobile.
Yeah, he didn't own it.
Why we cut that out, I'm not sure anymore.
it never became really an issue, you know.
Yeah, it didn't need to be an issue.
Well, we've answered it. Right
Really?
now.
Yeah,
Right?
Exactly. So if
Well,
it
we,
is-
we
It wasn't
figured
his
it
car
out.
to sell.
That's why we showed up today. And it is as a filmmaker, and when we did this, I often wondered at this point, what are people wondering? You know, when you first watch it, first of all, he's speeding, but where do they think he's going? Is it just kind of a segue, or do they anticipate that he's going to Vegas? Is it because there's definitely like, okay, what the hell's going to happen now?
Right, because you haven't said you were going.
No, he just said, let's go.
And yeah, we literally packed up, what, 2 cars and
Yeah.
said we'll shoot on the way there. And
But you knew.
so I knew where we were going, yeah.
We knew that.
I mean, I wouldn't have gotten in the car if they said, let's just get in the car.
Bring your camera.
I'm the director.
Ah, look, they're in Vegas.
Hey, I go, great. That fits in with the story. Great.
We could use this.
The light shouldn't have been on.
Well, sun.
Yeah, no, there was a light on in the room.
Yeah, the maid just left.
Oh, okay.
See, there's an
cleaned.
answer for everything.
That's right. That was in the original script
Yeah,
too. That she had just right.
She walked
we had
out
to cut that
even,
out. Yeah.
but we couldn't get a release from her. So
Exactly.
we had to cut
Now
that.
here's an interesting thing here. In Vegas, a lot of people know that you cannot bring cameras into the casinos. I mean, it's illegal, or their government within their own little government tells you can't have that. So we weren't sure. We knew we were going to get thrown out. We just didn't know how, and we just said, again, we're just going to go down, take the camera, and then we figured as soon as we stepped off this thing, we walk a few feet, and then we'll have our confrontation with their security, and we will film it. Well, we got off the elevator, we started walking,
And we
and
walked.
then we kept walking.
And we kept walking.
I get a Tom, turn around, and go back, and we had walked through the casino, and nobody seemed to bother us until this guy, and we had to say, thank God. I don't know how long. We didn't have much tape left to do.
That was
Except this
really
guy.
gutsy. That was really gutsy.
Oh,
to
it
do
took a
that
half
now.
hour.
I was a nervous wreck. I thought, oh my God. But
Yeah. And I think we asked somebody there, what will happen if we come down there? They said they'll throw you out. They didn't say how long.
Yeah. I like this. Fortunately, it could be you millionaire thing here.
Yeah, that was expensive.
That was pricey. I'm gonna do some.
Tom returned to his room 3 hours later.
Now here, again, the scene coming up was another little way we work this is that Tom told me he'd written this scene, but he didn't want to tell me what it was. He didn't want to read it. He didn't want to. He just wanted to go ahead and do it, and then we'd say, well, we'll set this up and you'll do it. And so once we get to it here, what you hear is what we were hearing for the first time, and this is one of the final scenes, of course.
My whole thing with because the issue of suicide is obviously very sensitive, and my feeling about it is, and at least what I know about it, which is very little, is you really never know why someone killed themselves. You can speculate, and there are some obvious things that stick out, but in many cases anyway, you don't really know why someone killed themselves. So I didn't want to say, well, but my girlfriend left me and this movie might not be good and blah,
Right.
blah, blah. I didn't want to verbalize it. I just wanted to keep it real raw and try to get to the level, the essence of, and to the point where, a little bit of method, but where someone might really pull a gun out and stick it to their head.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really just kind of focused on keeping it raw, and I was happy with it. It was a tough experience, though.
Well, it was interesting because this was a one-take deal, and that I don't recall if we did this. Maybe we did it twice, but I know this is the first take, and this is what we used. And there was obviously no way to edit it. Weren't sure if you blinked, we weren't sure if you knew that the crew wasn't there. Right. Kept thinking, well, can we put the graphic down there, or should we, or does that suggest that we're still there? But I think most people figured
Understood.
I think, as it turns out, people were into it enough by now where they did catch. I mean, they were
Right.
acutely aware, and they did
Yeah.
see
Right.
it.
it was late
It's 5:10.
Or early.
or early.
Very early.
And of course, my sister can't watch this movie because
She's in jail.
even though it's well, yeah, that's true. She got out.
The other
Oh, I'm sorry. This was years ago, right?
Since then,
since then.
She still won't watch it. It reminds her of prison.
But even though it's not rich, the really fun part about the craft and art of filmmaking is, she knows it's not real, but she still can't watch
Right.
it.
Breaks her
you know?
heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so. It's the power of the medium.
One of the things I like about what you did here is that it's not a noble speech necessarily. It's not. It's a little more real than I guess what we would have written if we would said, okay, we're going to write a speech here for pre-suicide.
Mm-hmm.
It has the level of that extreme vulnerability, I guess, and it can sound oh, he's crying and this, but I didn't know what was going to happen here. I mean, that's what was great about it.
You like this thing?
Yeah,
All these years.
I had never said anything.
Even now, watching it, the reverence that we have for the scene,
Yes, our hush
our
silence.
silence.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I got it. But the first few times, now of course I'm just seeing it so much. But the first few times, it made me uncomfortable. I mean, I was like, because it's a little. First of all, it's a little embarrassing to kind of portray this kind of emotion.
But
you know,
that's
But it's the actor's job,
Right.
But it's still there's a people.
And and that's the funny thing. We knew we were going to have to get here, right? And we knew that whatever you were going to do, it had to be. It's showing Tom at the just stripped down to nothing, and that worked for me, I think. And you know what? It's the whole hesitation here. You could have done it real quick and blah blah blah, but you're holding your breath. And I think you actually take a right at the end there.
Yeah. It's a pretty powerful moment, I guess.
Yeah, it's up to what happened.
And then
I wanted to see the blood against the wall.
by the time you get here, the silence makes it such a almost more powerful.
Yeah, it's another example of not showing something or being more powerful than choice of showing it. You know?
Yeah.
And it's cliche, but it's true. We won the championship that year. I think Randy Melvin carried us, though, to be honest with you.
It started with baseball. Winning.
Tom had a whole monologue about baseball, which was terrific, about him being up at the bat, and it was one of those scenes, obviously, that we had a lot of those, a couple of monologues that you had done that we couldn't use, and I wish we could put them on the DVD, but your lawyers have told me that we can't use that anymore.
My people.
And this is
That's the problem with getting people.
that's the problem with
You know?
getting people.
When you get people, then you can't get things done.
Is
Because,
to perform.
Tom won the money back then.
but
He won the money, everybody.
That is so simple and
If you
so
miss it.
understated. If you miss it, you miss it.
you
But
miss it.
Yeah, it makes
funny enough, people don't.
well.
enough
It's
people don't
so
miss
it's in passing.
But then-
almost.
What it's about.
Then you get to the point where you wonder what people are thinking. He killed himself, and now are people going, did this really happen? I gotta find out. Or
Well, that's
they
when-
go, oh, how ridiculous is this?
When they showed it on IFC, I'll set this up here. The first time, they had audience reactions.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing was clicking like a ticker tape. People were
On
got
the
online
computer,
and just
right.
on the computer, and we were reading all these hundreds and hundreds of emails of people.
You're talking about the reactions
The
after the Independent Film Channel.
Yeah, we got
First
immediate
show.
reactions.
Yeah, and it
over
was like
the
you
Oh,
internet.
we were watching it in live time, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hold on, I want you to notice the swing here on this one.
You can keep talking while we're
But there
doing
were a lot of I mean, like I said, it was going like a ticker tape thing. Look right here. Look at this. Boom.
Wow.
I mean, come on.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
nice level,
Mm-hmm.
powerful.
Look at this great Pepsi truck back there.
Yeah.
Based on a movie.
Middle American.
And this flare, we didn't do this. This is actually one of Tom's home movies, and it just flares out.
Didn't want to see.
Are we gonna be here much longer? Because I gotta go sell my solo for the Warners.
Yeah, I think the reaction that we got was that we were a little surprised, and
And people were angry with IFC for showing
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Some
and-
people
and some
loved it,
people
some-
said, "Oh wow, this
Oh,
is
some people, some people that were upset were raving. You cocksucking Hollywood faggots!
Very
I remember
ugly
that.
language,
That was one of the
ugly.
first ones, and I was like, "Whoa,
ooh,
that's great! I guess."
we made
Is that
somebody
great?
really mad."
You know, I mean.
Oh boy!
it
Here's
was
my
only
big
after-
moment. Here's my big moment.
Hold on.
Gonna sneeze.
But anyway, maybe I should start.
Well, I'm gonna have Tom's just gonna read one of the a guy that wrote in. I hope you won't mind us reading since we're coming to the end here. But
Better than the silence.
it's a funny reaction, man. It gives you an idea.
Okay, this is from a fellow named, we'll call him Dennis. I saw the movie on IFC for the first time and had not heard about it, or Tom. My condolences go out to his family and friends in what must have been a real tough time after his untimely death. Up until the moment I brought out the gun, I enjoyed the movie, although enjoyed is really not the correct word. I enjoyed Tom and his demeanor. Who wouldn't want to watch a man apparently achieving his dream? Of course, after learning the sad ending of Tom and the fact that the film was ultimately released, with no thought to his family and friends of Tom, this made me quite saddened. I can't believe that anyone would go see a bastardized version of his vision, meaning after that blood-sucking, soulless, cancer stick-sucking producer from They Shoot Movies, Don't They, took it over. I will never see Mirage, and my theory is, aside from his obvious depression, loss, and his longtime girlfriend, and no backing from his friends, Tom took his life to push what little of his vision for Mirage came through in They Shoot Movies, Don't They?
Okay, hang
And
on.
then
I want to show you something here, Tom. Here's the guy that wrote the letter right here on the right. Now just watch him for a minute.
Yeah, okay.
This is one of the scary nights Kurt was out alone, watching these street cleaners. And here he'll come in here,
Just to the right.
give his little 2 cents.
There it is. That's what I think of you guys.
Right there.
Well, it's funny enough. I don't think that's really him. But it's funny enough, 36 minutes later, this Dennis that wrote, all right, after more research, I realized that They Shoot Movies, Don't They, was not a documentary, and that Tom Paulson was in fact an actor portraying Tom Wilson was an actor portraying Tom Paulson. Thanks for fucking with people. You idiots. Jesus. How about a little of your own stop exploiting Hollywood mentality here? And now that I know it was a mockumentary, the film sucked in my opinion. Brilliant in its idiocy. So another big FU to the people out there trying to deceive and manipulate innocent folks for their own financial gain. Burn in hell, bitches.
Yeah. As you can see, those are the types of letters we've got, and you might have felt that way also watching it, but we do have a response that we'd like to. What's his name?
Dennis.
Dennis.
And it goes like this. 1.
Dear
Dear
Dennis.